Data science applications. In data science applications, it's a one kind of data science application is a big data. So what is that big data and what are the objectives of in big data? An objective to learn the concept of big data and its characteristics, to understand the various applications and the tools of big data. If we are using the big data, we can use the tools. What are the tools are available, then how we can use that applications, it is based on the big data. So first of all, I will talk about the what is the big data. To define big data, what is the big data? Big data refers to an extremely large volume of data and the data sets that include structured and unstructured data coming in from the multiple sources. So the multiple sources we have to finding the data, it should be a structured or it is in the unstructured data. These data sets are so voluminous that traditional data processing software is unable to capture, manage, or process them. Complex big data can be used to address business problems that were previously inaccessible. Often, big data is characterized by the three ways. One is the data containing the great variety, coming in increasing the volumes and with the high velocity. Types of big data. What are the types the big data is available? One is the structured, unstructured, and semi-structured of data. Structured data. What is it big data? It is having the structure. The structured data is highly organized and it is the easiest to work with it. It dimension or defined by set of parameters. The dimension, it should be find out the parameters. Every piece of information is grouped into rows and columns like spreadsheets. So the structured data, it like a spreadsheet. Rows and columns will have. Okay. Due to structured data, quantitative nature, it is easy for programs to sort through and collect the data. It requires little to no preparation to process the structured data. The data only need to be cleaned and pared down to the relevant points. The data does not need to converted or interpreted too deeply to perform the proper inquiry. Structured data follow the roadmap to specific data points or schemas for outlining the location of each datum and its means. So the structured data is like that. It is a streamlined process of merging the enterprise data with the relational data is one of the perks of structured data. Due to the pertinent data dimension being defined and being in the uniform format. So very little preparation is required for the structured data one. Another one, ETL process. For the structured data, the finished the product in the data warehouse. The initial data is harvested for the specific analytical purpose, and for this data are highly structured and filtered. So there is only the limited amount of structured data are available and it fall under the slim minority of all existing data. So this way, the data is 20% or less than or data are the structured one. Okay. Next one, unstructured. So unstructured is not at all data is structured and well sorted with instructions and it is unorganized data. So that is called the unstructured data. So this unstructured data or it's generated by the computer is the unstructured data. The time and effort required to make unstructured data is readable can be that is the cubisms. Okay, to yield real value from data, data sets need to be interpretable. The process to make it happen, it can be more rewarding. So next one, the challenging part about the unstructured data analysis is teaching an application to understand the information is extracting. So translation into structured form is required. which is not easy to varies with the different format and end goals. Some methods to achieve the translations are by using the text parsing NLP method and developing content hierarchies through the taxonomy. Some complex algorithms are involved to blend the process of scanning, interpreting, and contextualization. So these are the main concept it is present in the unstructured data. In unstructured data, which is stored in the data warehouse. Unstructured data is stored in the data lakes. In the data lakes, it preserves the raw format of data as well as the informations. Data lakes make the data more malleable, unlike data warehouse, where the data is limited to a defined schema. The example, unstructured databases output returned by the Google search. Okay. Next one is semi-structured. Semi-structured data falls somewhere between structured data and unstructured data. It mostly translates the unstructured data that has metadata is attached. Semi-structured data can inherited by the location, time, email, address, on or the device ID tags. It can be semantic tag attached to the data. So in this semi-structured data, the time and email was sent, the email address of the sender, the recipient, it have the IP address of the device that the email was sent from and other relevant information are linked to the content of the email. While the actual content itself is not structured, these components enable the data to be grouped in the structured manner. Using the right data sets can make semi-structured data into the significant assets. It can aid machine learning and AI training by associating the patterns with the metadata. Semi-structured data, no set schema can be benefit as well as the challenges. It can be a challenge to put in all the effort to tell an application the meaning of each data point. But at the same time, there are the no limit is structured using for the ETL. Personal data stored in the XML file is an example for semi-structured data. Next one, it is the importance of big data. What are the important? It is based on the big data one. The big data importance does not revolve around the amount of data company. Its importance lies in the fact that how the company utilizes the gathered the data. Every company uses it collected the data in its own way. More effectively, the company uses this data and it will grow. The companies in the present market need to collect it, analyze it, the data. Okay. Next, first one, it is a cost saving. So cost saving, the data tool like the Apache Hadoop, Spark, bring the cost saving benefits of business when they have to store the large amount of data. So these tools organize in identifying the effective way of doing business. So this is the Hadoop tool and Spark tool is used to do that at business level. Next is time saving. Real time in the memory analytics helps companies to collect the data from various sources. Tool like Hadoop help them to analyze the data immediately, thus helping the marketing quick decision based on the learnings. The third one, understand the market conditions. Big data analysis help the business to get the better understanding of market situations. For example, analysis of customer purchasing behavior help the company to identify the product sold most and thus the product to those product is accordingly. It is the company to get ahead that company for their competitors. Okay. Next one, social media listening. Companies can perform the sentiment analysis using the big data tools. These enable them to get the feedback about the company. That is, Who is saying what about the company? Company can use the big data tool to improve the online presence. This is the main, that is the social media and cost savings and time savings and understand the market conditions. So these are the main category. It is importance of the big data analysis. Next, boost customer acquisition and retention. Customer or the vital asset on which any business depends. No single business can achieve its success without building a robust customer base. But even with a solid customer base, the companies can't ignore the competition in the market. If we don't know what our customers want, then it will degrade company success. It will result in the loss of client, which crescent, which creates an adverse effect of the business growth. Big data analysis helps the business to identify the customer related trends and patterns. Customer behavior analysis leads to the profitable business for the big data. Solve the advertisement problem and offer marketing insights. Big data analytics shapes all the business operations. It enables companies to fulfill the customer expectations. Big data analytics help in changing the company product line. It ensures the powerful marketing companies. So next one, the driver of innovations and product development. So the big data make the companies capable to innovate and redevelop their product. So characteristics of big data. What is the characteristics of big data? The big data is a large amount of data that is not being processed by the traditional data storage, the processing or the processing unit. It is used by the many multinational companies to process the data and business of many organizations. The data flow would exceed 150 exabytes per day before replications. There are the 5 big data explains the characteristics. See this diagram. See the 5 type of characteristics of their big data. One is volume and veracity, then velocity and value and variety. So the big data, it contains the value, huge amount of data to be present. Next, inconsistency and uncertainty in the data for veracity. Velocity will find the high speed of accumulation of data. Value, it is extract the useful data, it is valuable. Variety is a different, that is a formats of data from the various sources. So these are the main categories, that is a characteristics of big data. The volume of big data is enormous size. So the big data is a vast volume. It used source is daily used for the business process, machines, social media platform, network, and human interactions, and many more. Then Facebook can generate approximately 1 billion of messages. That's a 4.5 billion time that the like buttons and recorded. So more than 350 million new posts are uploaded each day. So these are the things it should be find out the volume of big data. Big data technology can handle the large amount of data volume. Next one, variety. Big data can be structured, unstructured, and semi-structured. Already we know that are being collected from the different sources. Data will only be collected from the database and sheets in the past, but these days the data will comes in the arrays of forms. It is a group of data items. So there is the PDFs, emails, audios, SM posts, and photos and videos. Like this, nowadays we can collect the data. Okay. So this is the diagram for structured diagram for the big data. So see that it is divided into 4 parts. That is structured, semi-structured, that is unstructured, and quality of that is the quasi-structured. Okay, so unstructured and quasi-structured is this know that the data is categorized in the another way. Structured data. What is the structured data? You know that already it is a tabular form. The data is to be structured and it should be a record the column and rows. Okay. Semi-structured means it is not properly defined. So it have the XML, CSV, and so many email and online transaction processing systems built in work with the semi-structured formats. Okay, tables. So unstructured data means that the structured is no, the data, it should not have the structured one, it is unstructured one. It having the files, log files, audio files, image files are included in the unstructured format. Some organizations have much data available, but they did not know how to derive the value of the data. Since the data is raw. Next one, quasi-structured data. That format contains the textual data with inconsistent data format that are formatted with effort and the time with the some tools. Okay, so this example is web server. So the web server log is the one of the example using the big data. The log file is created and maintained by the some server that contains the list of activities. The next one, veracity. Veracity means how much the data is reliable. So if you are using the reliable data, then the data source is called as the veracity. It has many ways to filter or translate the data. So veracity is the process of being able to handle and manage the data efficiently. Big data is also essential in business development. For example, for veracity is Facebook spots. Another one, value. Value is the essential characteristics of the big data. It is not the data we process and store. It is the valuable one. It reliable and store and process to analyze the data. This is the data value chain. See the data value chain. Then each and every chain, it has the some increasing value of data. So Facebook, so see that feedback and identity of data, collect the data and the processing. So this is the collection process, analysis and release, and that is it have the connect and the update that one. So if you are influence and use the data, impacting based on the change and the that is the main data value chain. It is increasing the level. So this is the valuable data one. So velocity. Velocity is a plays an important role compared to the others. Velocity creates the speed by which the data is created in real time. It contains the linking of incoming data set speeds, range of change, and activity burst. The primary aspect of big data to provide the demanding the data rapidly. The big data velocity deals with the speed and the data flows from the source like application logs and business process, networks and social media sites, sensors and mobile devices. So these are the main thing for the main characteristics of the big data. Okay, the next one, advantages. What are the advantages of big data? First one, better decision making. Companies use big data in different ways to improve their B2B operations, business to business, and advertising and communications. Many business, including the travel, real estate, finance, and insurance, are mainly using the big data to improve the decision-making capabilities. The big data reveals more information in the usable format. Business can utilize the data to make accurate decisions on what consumer want or not and their behavioral tendencies. So first one, better decision making, the advantage. Big data facilitates the decision making process by providing the business intelligence and advanced analytical insights. The more customer data business has, the more detailed overview it can again about the target of audience. The data-driven insights reveal the business trends to behaviors and allow the companies to expand and complete the optimizations the decision making. These insights enable business to create a more tailored product and services, strategies, and well-informed campaign to complete within the industries. The second one is reduce the cost of business process. So this is another advantage. The surveys conducted by the Due Vantage and Scott reveals the data. Big data analytics has helped the business to reduce the expenses significantly. So 66.7% of survey represent from the new Vantage clients. They have started using the big data to reduce the expenses. So next, the 59.4% of survey that is a response from Scott claimed that big data tools helped them reduce the cost and increase the operational efficiency. So some tools to increase the efficiency is for that big data. Next one, fraud detection. So the third advantages is the fraud detection. Financial companies in the particular using the big data detect the fraud. Data analytics use the machine learning algorithm and artificial intelligence to detect the anomalies and transaction patterns. These anomalies of transaction patterns indicate something is out of the order or in mistake, mismatch, giving us the clues about the possible frauds. So this is the next one. The fraud detection is a significantly important for credit of union, bank, credit card companies to identify the account information, materials, and the product access. Any industry, including the finance, can better serve its customer by early identification of frauds before something goes wrong. So for the credit card companies and the banks can spot the fraud purchases or stolen credit cards using the big data analytics even before the cardholder notices that something is wrong. So next one, it is increase the productivity. So next advantages is increase the productivity. According to the survey from the Scott, 59.9 of survey represents the claim that we are using the big data analytics tools like the Spark and Hadoop to increase the productivity. The productivity has turned and helped them to improve the customer retention and boost the sales one. Then modern big data tool help the data scientists and analyze the large amount of data efficiency, enabling them to have a quick overview for the information. This is the increase the productivity level. Next one, the big data analytics helps the data scientists and the data analysis give them more information about themselves so that they can identify how to be more productive in their activities and job responsibilities. Therefore, investing the big data analytics offers a competitive advantages for all the industries to stand out with the increased productivity in the operations. So these are the increased productivity is one advantage. Next advantage is improved customer services. Improving the customer interactions is crucial for any business as a part of their marketing efforts. Since big data analytics provides the business with the more information, they can utilize the data to create the more targeted marketing campaigns and special highly personalized offers to each individual client. The major sources of big data are social media, email transaction, customers, CRM, customer relational management is used. It exposes the wealth information of the business about their customer pain points, touch points, values, trends to serve the customer better. The big data helps companies understand how their customer think and feel and thereby offer them more personalized product and services. Offering the personalized experience can improve the customer satisfaction and enhancement relationships and build the loyalty based on the customers. So these are the main advantages for the big data. Another one, increased agility. Another competitive advantage of the big data is increasing the business agility. The big data analytic can help companies to become the more disruptive and agile in markets. Analyzing the huge data set related to customer enable companies to gain the insights ahead of their competitors and address the pain points of customer more efficiently. Another, the big data helps the companies to improve their business practice and strategies. So these are the main advantage is used for the big data analysis. So in this big data analysis, what are the techniques are available? One is association rule learning, classification tree analysis, genetic algorithm, machine learning, regression analysis, sentiment analysis, and social network analysis. So statistical classifications is method of identifying the categories that the new observation belongs. It requires the training set of correctly identified the observations. So the historical data, in other words, it is classified in the automatically assign the document to categorize the organization into grouping, develop profile of student who take online courses. So the first one is association rule learning. So the people who purchase the tea are more less likely to purchase the carbonated drinks. Association rule learning is a method for discovering the interesting correlation between the variables in the large database. So association rule is to implement, it is used for the big data. It was first used by the major supermarket chain to discover the interesting relationships between product using the supermarket point of sales. Okay, association rule learning is being how it will help to the business. First one, the place of product is better proximity to each other in order to increase sales. Extract the information about the visitors to website from the web server logs. Analysis biological data to uncover the new relations. Monitor the system logs to detect the introduced and the malicious activity identified. If the people who buy the milk or the butter is likely to buy the diapers. So this is the association rule is present. Next one, classifications of tree analysis. Which categories does this document belong to? This is a classification. Statistical classifications is the method of identifying the category that the new observation belongs to. It requires the training set of correlated identify observation, correctly identified observations, historical data in other words. The statistical classification is what? Automatically assign the document, categorize the organize into grouping, develop the profile of student who take the online courses. These are the categories which define the three tree analysis. Next one, genetic algorithm. What is a genetic algorithm? Which the TV programs should be broadcast and what time and which slot and the maximum of rating. So these are these findings. The genetic algorithms are inspired by the way of evaluation of work. The mechanisms such as the inheritance, mutations, and natural selections. These mechanisms are used to evaluate the solution of the problem that require the optimization. So the optimization techniques we have to using the genetic algorithm. What is the use of genetic algorithm? We have to evaluate the work. Okay, so that the genetic algorithms are being used to schedule the doctors for the hospital emergency rooms, return the combinations of the optimal material and engineering practice required to develop the fuel efficient cars, generate the artificially creative content such as the funds and the jokes. So these are the main thing. It's categorized and Evaluation of work, it should be done into the genetic algorithm. The next one is machine learning. What is a machine learning? Which movies from our catalog would this customer most likely want to watch next based on their viewing history? Machine learning includes software that can learn from the data. It gives the computers the ability to learn without being explicitly programmed and is focused on making the predictions based on known properties learned from the sets. So the prediction based algorithms are used for the machine learning techniques. Okay. So what are the machine learning is used to and help in what are the areas? Distinguish between the spam and the non-spam email messages, learn user performance and make the recommendation based on this information, determine the best content for engaging prospective customers, determine the ability of winning a case and setting the legal billing rates. So these are the main the machine learning algorithm is used. The fifth one, regression analysis. How does your age after the kind of car you buy? At the basic level, regression analysis involves manipulating some independent variable to see how it influences the dependent variable. It describes how the value of the dependent variable changes when the independent variable is varied. It works best with the continuous quantitative data like weight and the speed and the age. So this is the regression analysis. So this regression analysis being used to determine what are the ways. The levels of customer satisfaction affect the customer loyalty. The number of support calls received may be influenced by the weather forecast given the previous day. Neighborhood and size affect the listening price of houses, listing price of houses, and to find the love of your life via online dating sites. So these are the main thing for that. Next one, sentiment analysis. How well is our new return policy being received? Sentiment analysis helps the researchers to determine the sentiment of speakers or writers with respect to the topic. Sentiment analysis is being used to help improve the service at the hotel chain by analyzing the guest commands, customize the incentives and services to address the what customers are really asking for, determine what the customers really think based on the options from social media. So these are the sentimental analysis is worked out. The next one, it is a social network analysis. So how many degrees of separations are you from Kevin Bacon? The social network analysis is a technique that was first used in the telecommunication industry and then quickly adopted by sociologists to study the interpersonal relationship. It is now being applied to analyze the relationship between the people in many fields and commercial activities. Nodes represent the individual within the network, while ties represent the relationship with the individuals. So these are the main, that is the advantages for the big data analysis. Next method, it is the social network analysis is used to do that. See how the people from the different populations from ties with outsiders, find the important or influence of the particular individual within the group, find the minimum number of direct ties required to connect the individuals, understand the social structure of the customer base. So these are the main thing for that in the big data works. The next one, big data storage. Big data storage is a storage infrastructure that is designed specially to store and manage and retrieve the massive amount of data, or it is a big data. Okay, So the big storage enable the storage and storing of big data in such a way that is easily accessed and used the applications and services with the big data. Big data storage is also able to flexible scale is required. The big data storage preliminary supports the storage, the input and output operation or the storage with a very large amount of data, files and objects. A typical big data storage architecture is made up of the redundant and scalable supply of direct attached storage pools. Scale out or clustered network attached storage or an infrastructure based on objective storage format. The storage infrastructure is connected to computing the server nodes that enable the quick processing and that is a retrieval of big quantities of data. So the most big data storage architecture infrastructures has the support for the big data analytics solutions such as the Hadoop and Cassandra and NoSQL. So what are the other big data tools are available? So the big data is simply too large and complex data that cannot be dealt with using the traditional data processing methods. Big data requires a set of tools and techniques for analysis. There are the number of big data tools available in the market. The Hadoop, which helps the storing, the processing, and the large data. Spark helps the memory calculation. Storm helps the faster processing of unbounded data. Apache Cassandra provides a high availability and scalability of the database. MongoDB provides the cross-platform capabilities. So there are the different functions of every big data tool. Analyzing and processing the big data is not an easy task. Big data is the big problem, and to deal with, you need to set the great big data tool that it will solve the problem, but also it is helping to producing the substantial results. So this is the main tool it is used for the big data one: Apache Hadoop, Apache Spark, Flink, Apache Storm, Apache Cassandra, MongoDB, Kafka, Tabula, and RapidMiner and R programming. These are the above tools to use for the big data analysis. So this is the main thing for that big. I know that it is what is the big data, what is the characteristics of big data. So what are the advantages and what are the tools we are using for that big data. So it is useful to you. Then the next we'll see that what is the points, the pointer of big data one. The big data importance does not revolve around the amount of data of the company has. The important lies in the fact and how the company utilizes the gathered the data. The big data, it is a more effective, it is used for the company data, and the data contain the large amount of data. It is not processed by the traditional data storage. It many multinational companies to process the data. It is used in the many organizations. Another one, the statistical classifications is the method of identifying the categories that the new observation belongs to. It requires the training set of correctly identify the historical data. In other words, the big data is simply too large and complex data that cannot be dealt with using the traditional data processing methods. So these are the main points it should be discussed based on the big data analysis.